Hey, this is Davin with Redline Rebuilds, and today we're getting back on our 37 Ford race car. Yesterday we completely stripped everything apart, and we have the rear axle sitting here on the table and all the front end components off in the dirt room. And my task here this morning is I'm going to take and strip this completely apart, kind of document what parts I need. I should say kind of, I'm going to. So I know I'm going to want probably some bearings and seals and that type of stuff. Get all that documented, stripped apart, and then eventually get this into the sandblaster and parts cleaner as well.
And this is Tom from Barn Find Hunter. While he's working on the rear end, I'm going to be working on the front suspension, pulling apart the axle, pull apart all the brakes, the I guess tie rod ends and ball joints, and wash them in the parts washer and then put them in the sandblaster. Thankfully, it's about a 40-inch cabinet, so it'll fit a lot of parts. And then at some point, when I'm done and he's done, we'll swap, and then he'll work in that side. Let me ask you, isn't it odd we call this a 37 Ford, yet the frame is from Chevy, the drivetrain is from a Mopar, this is a custom racing part. The only part of this car that's Ford is this little piece of tin.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's interesting you say that because it goes really across the board with race cars, if you notice that. Yeah. Nobody cares what the power plant is. That's kind of where we're at here, but at least it is original Ford tin. Yep. All right, so that's our plan of attack for the day. All we got to do now is get busy.
Go.
Right on. So in stock form, there's a big chunk of metal that was cut out of here, so the adjuster's easier to access as far as from a racing standpoint, quick and easy. And then also you have in here for venting, as all these holes are for, it helps get some air in because brake drums or drum brakes tend to gain a lot of heat. So that heat causes brake fade, and of course brake fade means no brakes. Pretty simply. Also notice that there's been some adjustment to this pad, or to the shoe. This is not a failure. This is very specifically cut and basically minimize the amount of brake to would be the left side of the car, left rear, and also here and here. So very deliberate in its modification.
So what I did here a little while ago was start to spray some WD-40. We had a hard time getting this wheel off the, it's a quick release, but it wasn't coming off. So I sprayed a little WD-40 on it. What I'm going to do is take those bolts out and then deal with the quick coupling release separately. This is so race drivers can get it in and out of a car just easily. The wheel is an encumbrance. So you push that, take it off, and usually there's a little hook on the top of the roll cage. You hang your steering wheel up there to get in and out. Yeah. Oh, man. All right. So in theory, you should be able to push this button and slide this off and the wheel comes off. But it seems to have been jammed over time. So I'll just let it soak for a while. So you'd imagine a leaf spring on an old Ford to be one leaf spring running from side to side, but on this race car, they've taken 2 short leaf springs, which I suppose they made out of a standard leaf spring. And then you can see it was just chopped off here as opposed to being beveled like that. So they mount to the chassis in the middle and gives them a much stronger spring rate than if it were just one arc. So I'm going to pull these apart. So this area here has been our disassembly area. If you remember earlier, it had front end components all over the place. Well, those have all been disassembled with the exception of these radius rods coming off the front axle, which the bolt came off of this, or the nut came off of this one, but the bolt is kind of frozen in there. And this one, unfortunately, the head of that nut is rounded, so we'll have to burn the whole thing off, I'm not sure. But this is the disassembly area. We brought the parts into here and have some of them soaking in a bath that's here. The greasy side is soaking in there. I've already cleaned this brake drum up. We're going to put the pedal assembly in there. And then these are the front leaf springs. I have them marked, but I still want to stamp in there what position they were in, so we know which was left and right. And then we're going to soak them, clean them, and then glass bead them, because if you don't get all the grease off before you put it in the glass bead machine, all the glass just sticks to the grease and it doesn't clean up anything. So the idea is to get it as clean and dry as possible before you put it in there and make the metal look like new.
Not sure why these are safety wired together. Oh, it's clean, really clean. Okay, so earlier we were talking about this being a quick change rear end. The idea is you have a counter shaft. This is your input. So your input shaft comes through from the drive shaft, back of the transmission, and it feeds this gear, which in turn then feeds the top gear, and then into your traditional ring and pinion. Now, why it's quick change is these two gears change your gear ratio. So the ratio you have here will be different than the ratio you have here. Okay? So, and the change is roughly, just by using these two gears, you might go from, let's say, a 350 gear to maybe a 550 gear. It's all relative to the number of teeth on the big one and the small one. Now, there are multiple sets of these as well, so you can buy any basically gear selection that you want. So in a traditional sense for circle track racing, you're probably going to run like a 586 gear. But then you can also fine tune things, a 586, a 566, 558, you get the idea. All the way out to about a 7, if I remember correctly. And then the flip side of things, you can go real super highway gear where you could be into a 2. All depends on what you're after. And again, it's quick to change at any point in time. And you can see the amount of fluid that's left. I'm sure this is actually full or pretty close to that, but that's about all you usually get. So even on a hot race car, you can change this in between the heat race and the feature. if you want to fine tune things for the track conditions. And of course, if you're on the street, if you're going to go to the drag strip, you can use one gear versus another. This now typically isn't the best drag racing gear or axle setup, but you get the point.
Every home shop needs one of these machines. So it was a little bit hard to see with this kind of a foggy glass, but you kind of do it by feel, so I could probably get a little bit better job down the bottom here. The problem is it's so hard to see, All right, I'm going to put this back in and get some of these lower fins, which I really couldn't see through that glass. See if I can just get it a little bit cleaner down here. You can see a lot better in here with these lights off. So this has been probably 8 to 10 hours worth of blasting, which sounds like a long time for these parts, and it is. This is the kind of job that I would have my son do when he was 12 years old, because I had more important things to do. Now I do this work. The machine worked great. Had to replace the shield on the glass ones because you couldn't see what you were spraying glass beads at. Also, we started to run out of glass beads, had to refill the cabinet. So that slowed things down a bit. But some of the parts, like these leaf springs, are so hard that you could just blast and blast and blast, but because there's so many cavities in there, you just can't get it clean looking. This thing came out nice. The brake drums came out nice. Intake manifold came out nice. I just find this really amusing here. It's a Weiand manifold, W-E-I-A-N-D. Then they have on here how to pronounce it. Say Y-and. I always thought it was Weiand, but say Y-and. So they give you a pronunciation, which is kind of cute. So that's it. It's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it.
Let's do this. Got it up here where we can see it. That's ugly. It's 3/4. I bet this might be 3/4. Ah!
You're doing all that metric work at the
It has. Punch just shattered. Put 2 sleeves in? Just saying. Just throwing it out there, kids. So for those of you that are wondering why I'm using a torch and a 75-ton press, I only have 15 tons on here right now, but my concern is that I'm gonna mushroom over the head of that bolt with the press. So all I'm trying to do is basically heat up my axle enough, get it to swell, and then with that pressure on there, it'll hopefully break free. Boy, there's just enough room for that thing. Perfect. Hey, we got the car pulled apart, down to the carcass. Tom got all the front end washed and sandblasted. Took a couple hours, didn't it?
I think it probably took 8 or 10, I don't know.
Yeah,
It was,
the arduous part of...
you know, some of these parts, I don't know if the hardness of the steel affects how it cleans up, but these parts are especially hard and were especially tough to clean up. But some of the other parts, the aluminum parts, intake manifold, brake drums, that cleaned up nicely. We put new media in the machine. It had lots of pressure. You got a great compressor. So it was kind of cool. It was painting in reverse.
It was.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, so like you were talking about with all those parts, we're gonna take and we'll paint them all up. I'm gonna use a automotive grade paint wherever I can. We'll spray bomb where we can't. The brake hubs and drums, I'm actually going to have them Cerakoted in a clear so that aluminum will stay nice and fresh looking.
Wow, yeah.
So it'll look nice. Likewise, relative to the intake manifold, I know you had some questions about the Y and intake manifold.
Yep, I love it.
And so we'll have that same thing. That'll get an automotive clear on it like we do with all the engine rebuilds, which brings me right here to the 440 or back to the 440. And so next few episodes coming up, we'll be tearing down the 440 and getting on with the time-lapse rebuild of that motor.
Well, I appreciate you tuning in to a combination Redline Rebuild Barn Find Hunter episode. This is the first time we've done it, and I really dig it. And I think it'll be the beginning of hopefully many more.
Well, we'll get better the next time.
Hopefully, yeah.
But hey, I'm sure Tom wants to tell you to go find some stuff, right?
Happy hunting, yeah.
Happy hunting. And from my end, get in the garage. You know what to do. Get your work done, because there's a lot of stuff outside to go do and have fun with. And of course, find some cars.
You know, between our two programs, we've achieved a milestone that I think few series ever attain, and that's 1 million subscribers. They say the first million are the toughest. So I think 998,000 subscribers were mine, and you had a couple of subscribers.
You're probably right.
too.
Well, 20. Most of them were my relatives.
But they say the first million is the toughest. I want to thank you so much for tuning into our program. I mean, we're trying to bring fun into your life and education as we find cars and work on them.
That's exactly right. And if it wasn't for all the subscribers and what it does relative to Hagerty and such, we wouldn't be doing the fun things that we do and enjoying this brand new space as well. And like Tom said, our point is for everyone to understand that there's cars out there that are still attainable, still fun, very enjoyable, and the projects are time consuming and you'll love them. And you get your hands dirty, and at the end of the day, you accomplish something.
There's nothing like taking a barn find and making it roadable again. Whether you restore it or kind of leave it in patina condition, it's such a cool thing.
Exactly. So, from both of us and our whole crew behind us, thank you, and stay tuned for more.